surely will astound you. The amazing things you see. The project built the wonders work. How can such things be? A little science, a little magic, a little science, a little.
I've started recording, my darling.
Hello, and welcome to
Here's
Where
Things
Get
Weird.
starring me, Harmony, and
Me, Jackie.
this is a podcast where two weird people talk about weird things.
True.
I hate to break it to you, but the camera's not quite centered, and you're kind of getting cut off.
I don't know. I think do I have to lean forward this whole time?
If you can, lean forward a little, I think that would be better.
That's...
Folks, I'm gonna be real with you. We've recorded this episode before, and the audio was messed up.
We've had some issues. That's why I'm holding a mic.
We now have two microphones, and we used our two microphones to record another episode, and the audio for that also was not great.
Even though we tested it.
So I'm really hoping, I'm crossing my fingers and toes,
Don't
all
cross
15
your
of
toes.
them.
That's... Ew, stop it.
All 15 of them.
You have 15 toes?
Fingers and toes.
Oh.
And I'm really hoping that the audio is passable this time. So if it's not perfect, I'm sorry, but I hope that it's at least somewhat listenable. It's been 110 degrees or hotter every day for at least the last 2 weeks. And for the 2 or 3 weeks prior to that, it's been in the hundreds every single day, without fail. And our air conditioner really trying to keep up, but boy oh boy, it is not able to. So it is, at the time of recording, 85 degrees in the room that we are currently in.
I'm also from, well-known,
The Pacific Northwest.
very cold places. There's Oregon, Montana, Alaska are all typically very cold.
I don't mind. I like warm weather. Way prefer hot weather to cold weather.
Not me. I like cold weather.
All day long. But it's hard to operate when you have the chronic illness situation that you and I both do, which is we get very heat sick very fast. And when your body doesn't get that chance to cool down overnight and recover, and it stays really hot overnight, it takes its toll on you. I think we've both been feeling. But what else? We've had this place is nice, but we've been overrun by ants. We lost water. We're in a very rural area, and we lost water access because
for
of
a week.
Because of the extreme drought and heat, it sort of busting the pipes in the area.
Multiple times we've had to have the pipes repaired. Our water has looked like mud.
So that's been our week. It's been just us having no water and being extremely hot.
Dude, it's so...
And getting rejected by jobs.
That's it. That's it.
That's been our week.
It's one thing to be way too hot. It's a whole other ballgame to be way too hot and not have access to water.
It's tough. Some people have to live like this all the time. And that just...
Yeah.
On a different note, our cat currently looks like she's melting in a very cute way.
Can you imagine being caked in black fur? And then you're like, you know what I'll do on this hot 110 degree day? I'm gonna go lay in front of the sun window.
We should get her
on my heat pad.
We should get her off of the heat pad at least.
Nah, she's fine.
Our cat has one of the heat reflecting pads. It's not electronic in any way. It doesn't plug in or anything, but it reflects her own body heat back to her. She loves laying on that thing. It does not matter how hot it is. She loves it. So silly.
Marcy, go lay in the bedroom. It's cool.
The last thing that I wanted to mention at the top is just something silly. I put on a necklace that looked really cute with this dress that I'm wearing, but I had to take it off because my neck cannot support the weight of it for very long. It will give me a terrible migraine. I'm gonna put a picture, the one that you took of me with the necklace on, I'm gonna put it on screen so that you can appreciate how cute this necklace would have looked with this dress. For anybody audio only, the necklace is like a big U-shaped pendant, and it's got beaded several beaded strands that hold it up. It's very heavy. It's like a glass pendant that's like it's like a teardrop shape. Anyhow, that's all that I have up at the top here.
It's too hot.
It is hot. We're gonna talk about a cold place.
I know. I'm hoping that it will make me feel cooler. I
Yes.
definitely wish,
On this
I wish I was there right
on this
now.
very hot, me too. Very, very hot day in Texas. We're gonna be talking about Alaska and the Alaskan Triangle.
Yep.
So, last time we chatted about this, you gave me several anecdotes about your childhood because you grew up in Alaska. We're welcome to jump in at any point and share those.
I don't want to do that. Too hot. You know
It's
what?
too
You
hot.
missed your opportunity to listen to all my stories, of which I have a million. For those who don't know, we are talking about Alaska. We're talking about, what is it?
The Alaska Triangle.
Yeah, and I've lived in 3 places in Alaska that I know of. But again, I was very young. I lived in Delta Junction and Fairbanks, which are like kind of next to
Next to each other,
Canada, but
right?
like, yeah, they're pretty close together. And then I also lived in Anchorage, which is down south.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Anchorage. Well, we're going to talk about the geography of Alaska a little bit, but Anchorage is, I would think, what most people know of.
Anchorage is classic Alaska. Like if you picture just whatever you're thinking about Alaska right now, picture it in your head. That's what Anchorage looks.
So I had never heard of the Alaska Triangle before. Uh,
I haven't either, actually.
it randomly came across. I got served up some sort of strange YouTube video, as I often do. I clicked on it. I watched the video. It was interesting enough. I thought I'm gonna put some notes together and we're gonna talk about this. But the Alaska Triangle is similar in concept to the Bermuda Triangle, which I think most people are familiar with
Yeah.
conceptually. It's a
Yes,
place where weird
stuff
things happen.
People disappear.
People disappear. There's paranormal claims.
Those
There's
ships. Compasses
I
don't
don't
work.
know if there are ghost ships, but
There have to be.
there,
Has to.
there probably are. Big if true. But yeah, there's a lot going on. There are many claims about this area. There are some claims that I'm not going to dive into because they are, in my opinion,
Rooted
a
in
love.
racism.
Well, I don't know that they're rooted in racism necessarily, but they
Happens
are.
sometimes.
But it does happen very often. But they are a deep level of conspiracy that I just feel like is, I don't know.
Maybe for the Patreon.
It didn't. I had a very difficult time finding information that seemed any bit at all rooted in reality. So anyway, none of that matters.
Also, sorry if it looks like my pinky is missing. It's not. It's hiding.
Do you want to briefly go over why that is?
I have my finger in a splint because our cat is stupid.
So this is a mom fail. This is a cat mom fail. I got our beautiful daughter a toy that she loved so much, which is like a bungee cord with a little mouse on the end that hooks to a doorway.
She does love it.
And she played with it. She's had that same toy. I've repurchased it a couple of times. The entire time we've had her.
Yep.
She's never had a problem with it, with like getting stuck on it or anything. But one night, about 2 weeks ago, she got stuck on it and she got it wrapped around her little toe.
She was panicking and screaming.
It was painful.
And also our cat, much like my beautiful wife, is
She
kind
only
of
has 3
missing
paws.
she's missing a paw up front. So it's like if something
Growing
happens,
paw.
if something happens to that paw, she's gonna have a lot of trouble.
Yeah, my
But
poor baby.
luckily she's okay. She's fine.
She was okay. So, well,
Yeah, she had it stretched out about as far as you could, and she was just panicking. So I went to pick her up. She bit my finger
Yep.
real hard. And by the way, PSA for anyone who doesn't know, I let my cat bite me all the time because we like play around. She bites my hands and stuff. Apparently, you should never do that. And I didn't know that.
I've lived with cats my whole life. I had no idea. Apparently,
No
cat
idea.
bites are very serious, especially if it happens on your hand, because their teeth are like little hypodermic needles and they inject bacteria deep in there. And then additionally,
Especially on a joint.
And then additionally, your hand has a bunch of ligaments and stuff that can very easily be snapped by their teeth because they're carnivores, so they have a very strong bite that is
Not
meant to bite
just
through meat.
not just ligaments, but also they apparently can chip your bones really too.
So
And yeah,
yeah, so if you do get bit by a cat on your hand, know that that is an emergency room trip. There's really no way around it.
I literally thought my finger was fine until the end of the day because it was the whole day. It was like 5 a.m. to nighttime. That that whole day passed, and by the end of the day, my finger was like red and swollen. And we had done some reading that was like, "Hey, if that happens, go immediately." So
Yeah.
we go to the ER. They took X-rays, and the radiologist said I needed to have surgery on my finger.
Yeah, they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna refer you to a hand surgeon," and, uh, we
We
don't have
have
health
we
insurance
don't
right
have
now,
health insurance or any
so
money. So I'll take my antibiotics and I'll be going. Thanks.
uh,
Hopefully it figures itself out.
yeah, so we've been having a really good time, but anyway,
What's one more thing?
you don't need it. Okay, quit throwing me off because I have a lot of notes to get through.
Yeah, I'm the one throwing you off.
You're the one who brought up your finger.
It was because you can't. It's like hidden against my shirt when I was holding my mic. I thought it looked weird.
What, 'cause your finger's missing? What, is that weird?
It would be the worst thing that could ever happen to somebody, and that's why they put it in almost every horror game and movie.
Oh my god, I do have one more thing that I wanna talk about. I was listening I like to listen to audiobooks sometimes,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm minding my own business. I'm listening to a book that I had never heard of before, but it was in, like, the popular books category,
What book
and
was it?
it's called Strange Houses. It's a translation of a horror novel from Japan. A Japanese author wrote it, and somebody translated it. And I was like, "Cool, I love horror." This is a relatively short book, and it's an interesting kind of setup, describing, like, a strange house. Great, I'm in. I get about 2/3 of the way through the book, and the big reveal spoilers, if you have not read this book and you want to read it, skip 30 seconds ahead. For those of you who don't care or who have read it, I get to the big reveal, which is where, like, the villain of the book, kind of, is a person who was born missing their left hand. Okay, targeted. And it was like, oh, this happened because of family shame, and it was an incest child, and now they have weird genetics that causes people to be born with missing their left hand. And that
Which
was like the
does not
whole.
happen.
I mean, like, it technically can
It
happen,
can.
but I have met a lot of amputees, and not a single one of us has been born missing our hand for that reason. I was born missing my left hand, completely unrelated to anything like that. And I
Yeah.
was just like, I'm just minding my own business, making dinner, and all of a sudden, I don't know, it's just weird.
It's weird. It's weird to just I don't know. It's weird to make villains disabled people. It's not weird. It's actually super common. It's weird that
Extremely
it's so
common.
common that the disabled person is always the villain, you
We
know?
should do a whole episode on that.
Let's do an episode on that because it'll go all the way back to my first memory of the disabled villain who was and actually this might not even be the first, it's just the one that I can recall off the top of my head is the bad guy from Inspector Gadget, the cartoon. And you know what?
Inspector
You didn't
Gadget.
see anything about him except for two things. One, his white fluffy cat he pet, and two, his mechanical hand he petted his cat with. Because he was disabled, and that means you're a villain, and that's easy to identify you.
Yep.
Yep.
There are so many examples, but we cannot get into that right now.
No, you know what? This episode's about that, and only that.
Okay, without further ado, the Alaska Triangle. The Alaskan Triangle is defined as follows. The northern point is the Alaskan town of Utqiagvik, which is in the Arctic Circle, way up at the northern tip of the state. And then down to Anchorage, which is way at the other side of the state, and then over to Juneau. It is a triangle that encompasses roughly 200,000 square miles or 518,000 square kilometers. Over the last 50 years, roughly 20,000 people have gone missing in this area 16,000 of that 20K have gone missing since 1988. That means that hundreds of people a year are going missing in this area. That
It,
is not normal.
it's not only way higher than like the national average,
Twice as high as the national average.
it's also wild to think that over 3/4 was just since when?
Since you've been alive.
Basically, since the entire time I've been alive. Are you blaming this on me? Are you saying that somehow
I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm just saying
a lot of
we
bad
can't
things
rule it out.
happened when I was born and I feel cursed.
We can't rule it out.
Credit scores became a thing the year I was born.
That's messed up. Okay. We can't get into
We
credit
can't.
scores. Within this, apart from people going missing en masse, there are also many other strange things that have allegedly happened in this area. But there's such a conspiracy out there as the Black Triangle, which is allegedly like a pyramid that is built underneath the terrain in this area.
Never
There
heard
is
of it.
nothing to substantiate that this is actually something that exists, but it is technically something that is part of the Alaska Triangle lore. So I did want to just mention it briefly.
This feels very welcome tonight.
It does.
Yeah.
The glow cloud.
Yeah, all hail the glow cloud.
All hail.
Literally though, Alaska, that show basically is what Alaska feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, living in Alaska.
There are plenty of cryptid sightings, in plane disappearances, and of course, aliens. To nobody's surprise.
I've seen them.
Just to emphasize again, this is a huge area that we're talking about here, and the landscape of it is varied. We have tundra, which for those who don't know is a cold, treeless, and permafrost terrain. Taiga, which is dense cold forests packed tight with pine trees and dangerous wildlife like wolves and moose. Which, by the way, when you think moose, you're thinking of a big animal, but double the size of what you're thinking, and that's the size of an Alaskan moose.
It was an Alaskan bullworm!
All right,
Seriously, they're huge.
just to put that out there, like we're talking huge wildlife that are very dangerous. Okay, part of this terrain is also like rugged mountains. You've probably seen pictures, if you haven't been to Alaska, of the beautiful mountains there. And then there are also stormy and treacherous coastlines. The coast right off of the southern border is considered one of the most dangerous seas, I guess, in the world.
I've been swimming in that beach.
Of course you have.
And I got the craziest leeches. Massive. I've never seen it. And then I found leeches in Montana and I was like, oh, they're little babies. And they're like, what are you talking about? These are big leeches. And I'm like, really?
So the Alaska range of mountains, that includes Mount Denali, famously. This is also within the triangle. So Mount Denali is within the Alaska Triangle. And importantly, Alaska's most populous areas, including Fairbanks, Anchorage, and Juneau, are all within the boundaries of this triangle as well. All right, we are going to start out by talking about a couple of missing persons cases, because this is a big portion of what people fixate on when they talk about the Alaska Triangle.
Sure.
So, 26-year-old Gary Southerden, a man whose family described him as a hippie type, which makes sense because it was the 70s. He was very open-minded, accepting of all people, and decided in the fall of 1976 that he wanted to go solo trapping in the Alaska wilderness. He sort of decided this, they're not really sure why, but he had been hanging out with friends who lived in Western Canada the past few summers, and they had worked on building the Alaska pipeline, and his family thinks that they probably, excited him about the prospect of Alaska and how wild and uncharted it was. So Gary decided to pack up and basically get ready to go 6 months on his own in the Alaska wilderness.
I would never do.
It's so dangerous.
I know all about Alaska. I still would never do this.
I cannot imagine.
Not for 6 months alone. It
Do
just
a trial run. If you're somebody who's real adventurous and you want to do solo trapping,
not even though. Like seriously, do it for like a month max. Don't
do
be on
it.
your own for
Go for
6
a
months.
weekend and see how it goes. All right, and to make sure multiple people know exactly where you're gonna be.
That really is the crux of it, is to make sure people know where you're at all times.
Gary, by the way, was from New York State, so he's not really. Upstate New York has some outdoorsy areas. It can be pretty rural in spots, but it's not Alaska. Gary actually linked up with an acquaintance who also wanted to do a similar trip. They decided to split the cost of a plane together because to get in and out of most places in Alaska, you need air transportation.
Yeah, you
There's
can't drive.
They don't have an extensive highway system. There's just not a lot of infrastructure. You have to take a helicopter or a plane most. So he and a friend got a small plane to take them into an area called Porcupine Creek.
Love it.
And once they got there, this was just a few miles from the Canadian border, by the way. Once they got there, the plan was for Gary and this friend to part ways for several months as they did their own adventures, and then to meet back up, presumably at the place where they got dropped off, to head back home to New York. The acquaintance actually had medical issues not that far after being dropped off. So in early winter, friend called in the plane early to leave. He said that he looked around for Gary a little bit to see if he was, within earshot, but didn't see any signs of him. And so the friend, needing medical attention, left.
Do you know what was his medical issue? Was it related to being out there? Because I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was. It was early November when this happened. They got dropped off in October, I want to say. So it could be frostbite, it could be an injury, could be unrelated. I really don't know. As summer rolled around, his family was surprised that he had not come home or contacted them. He was not the type to just disappear without saying anything. And so it didn't take them long to pay one of Gary's friends from New York to go basically on a search and rescue mission. So the friend flew into the area near Porcupine Creek and searched for Gary's campsite and actually was able to find Gary's campsite. Yeah, the friend found his wallet, his extra pair of glasses, and a few other items. The glasses, like you said, were like a backup pair. It was not Gary's primary pair of glasses, but like one that you would bring in case of an emergency, like if your hair breaks. But unfortunately, Gary himself was nowhere to be found. And so his friend went back home to Gary's family and told them what he found. And his family continued to try to search for him, but didn't have any luck and assumed that he was dead. Now, this happened in 1976. In 1997, a backpacker traveling through the Porcupine Creek area found a skull while camping and reported it, thankfully.
I don't know what I would do if I found a human skull. I feel like I'd freak out a little bit.
I mean, yeah, that would be jarring.
That's like, yeah, a little
Granted-
panic inducing.
Granted, if you're familiar with Alaska, I mean, it would be jarring, obviously, but
Not totally.
not that surprising necessarily.
Yeah.
For
Whose
the
skull
reasons
is it anyway?
for the reasons that we've been talking about and will continue to talk about. But 1997, so this is 21 years later. A backpacker traveling through Porcupine Creek discovered a human skull not far from where Gary's campsite had been set up. Now, the campsite was long gone, but the backpacker did report the skull to the police, and they did take DNA evidence, which is kind of a huge win because DNA was a very new technology at this time.
Yeah.
It had only been around for a few years, and they were still
It's
testing.
also kind of a long shot at that point because, how do you. But
Well, yes. No, you're right. Because the way that DNA works, for those who don't know, is they have to have a database to check the DNA against. And so even if you collect DNA, if you don't have a match for it in your database, it's not really going to be that useful to you. So they did collect it and they saved it, but they didn't have any hits on who this skull belonged to. So they kept this skull in an evidence locker basically for a long time. Now, in 2023, with 23andMe genetic data, which not a proponent of 23andMe at all,
Yeah.
but there are a few cases, including this one, in which this massive database of genetic material did come in handy, and it did help us to identify that the skull found in 1997 was Gary's skull. So Gary's family, somebody in Gary's family had submitted their genetic DNA to 23andMe, and that's how we finally ended up getting this match. And this brought closure, of course, to Gary's family, finally, after years. And not only that, but they also kind of know what happened to Gary, because on the skull were deep marks that obviously belonged to a bear. So we know that Gary probably was attacked by a bear at some point during the 6 months that he was backpacking and didn't make it home. So an unfortunate end for Gary, but I guess a fortunate end for his family in that they did get that closure. There are thousands of families who don't have this kind of closure now.
I'm going to tell you a quick Alaskan story. I used to go sledding a lot in Alaska when I was really little. I mean, I was really little the whole time I was in Alaska. I lived there until I was about 9 years old. One time I was sledding in Juneau, and they have like a giant slope that's got cliffs on either side, with really tall trees coming up on the sides. It's like a ski slope, but I was there and I had my little sled. I remember it was a blue sled with yellow paddles. So I don't know if you've ever been sledding with one of these. They have like the arms that you can pull, and you can use them to like brake if you pull both of them, or you could just pull one and it'll steer you, right? And I pulled so hard trying to brake because I was going way too fast down the ski slope, and my right one broke and my left one stayed. So I basically went whoop right off the cliffside. I jumped out just in time, but my sled went off the cliff, hit a tree, and fell all the way down. And I was so terrified about losing my sled. I thought I was going to be in the worst trouble ever. And, when you're like little like that, I guess things are a lot scarier. I was so worried about it that I actually jumped into that tree, climbed all the way down, grabbed my sled. And these trees are huge, but they're very tall. I grabbed my sled and I climbed all the way back up the tree with my sled, threw it onto the cliff, and it, skid down a little, and then I jumped from the tree onto the cliff. I remember it really distinctly too, because I remember thinking I didn't have it and I was gonna fall.
That's so
It
scary.
was
I
terrifying.
wonder, I mean, if you had fallen, like, what would have happened?
I'd be dead, and I don't think my mom would know where I was at.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did. So I found my mom after that. I'm so sorry, Mom. I broke my sled, and she's like, "Well, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, we'll get you a new sled." Whatever. I did get a new sled. It did not have paddles on it.
Aw, bummer.
I think it had a rope on it. Yeah, it had a rope on it,
That's
because
nice.
that was the sled that, when I lost the use of my legs temporarily from being paralyzed by the
Oh,
cold,
God.
my brother drugged me all the way back home, laying in
The
that sled.
shenanigans got into.
I have sledding stories, okay?
On July 3rd, 2012, after winning a lottery spot to be part of the Mount Marathon Wilderness Race, 65-year-old Michael LeMater and his wife and their dog arrived in the tiny town of Seward, Alaska for the race. Now, Seward is like a coastal town. It's very small population, like a few thousand people, I think. But they had this annual race, an out and back race up and down one of the mountains there. And it's called a wilderness race because the draw of it is that you're not going on like a paved road. Like you were going up and down a mountain that is there's going to be animals, there's going to be mud, there's going to be obstacles.
Bear traps?
And that's kind of the hopefully not bear
Probably
traps.
not bear traps.
But that's part of the draw. And Michael was very excited about this idea. It was on his bucket list. So when he got pulled to compete,
That's exciting.
he was
Yeah.
pumped. He
Yeah.
was so stoked. Michael was an Alaska native, so he also wasn't unfamiliar with Alaskan terrain. He kind of knew what he was getting into, and he and his wife Peggy packed up and headed down to the race. They attended some mandatory safety meetings. He picked up his racing number, and he did miss the practice run that contestants are supposed to be involved with, because it helps give you an idea of where exactly the course is, where the turnaround point is, etc.
For this kind of race, that feels really important.
I would say for any race it feels pretty important.
For any race, but especially like if you're out in the like that where it's really harsh.
I agree. So we don't know why Michael missed this portion of things. We don't know if he just arrived late or what happened exactly, but he wasn't able to make it. On the afternoon of the actual race, at 3 p.m. sharp, despite rain and fog and just gloomy, gross weather, Michael lined up with about 100 other runners at the starting line. The course was slick and muddy, but everybody headed off. And 3 hours later, as most runners had already returned, and many others had started to head home, Michael hadn't come back yet, and his wife Peggy started to worry.
What was the average time for the racers?
So I think about like 2 hours round trip is probably about what most people were doing. Because by 6 p.m., 3 hours later, almost everybody was done, and a lot of people had already left. So Michael had not been seen in a while. And Peggy started to worry and started to think, even if he had gotten like a muscle cramp or something, it's a short course. He should have really been able to walk his way there and back by now.
Yeah.
She was confused about what would be taking so long. About 45 minutes after the course was considered closed, officials started to pack up. They thought that they had accounted for everyone, and part of the reason for that is near the turnaround point, there was actually a strip that they had put on the ground that tracked chips on all of the runners. Everybody had like a chip on them that gave them their time, so they knew when their halfway time was. So like as you're approaching the turnaround point, you get a time stamp. So the mid-course timekeeper, he was monitoring the strip at the top of the hill in the turnaround point. He had a little clipboard and he was writing down everybody's name as well as they came past him. He had actually seen Michael, but he didn't see him until he was on his way back down the hill, packing up after the race. The timekeeper's name was Tom, and Tom interacted with Michael briefly. And as Tom saw Michael still coming up the hill, he noted that Michael was moving very, very slowly. But he said that he didn't seem to be injured, and he seemed to be in like good spirits. Like he seemed okay. And so to Tom, this didn't flag as being a problem, despite it being hours and hours after every other racer had come up the mountain. So as Michael approached the turnaround point, Tom didn't want to hang around any longer because he'd already been standing out there in the rain all day. So he said, listen, up there is where the turnaround point used to be. It was about 200 meters away from where they were talking. And Michael said, okay, I'll head to the turnaround point and then I'll come back down. And then they parted ways. So by 7:30 p.m., which is 4.5 hours after the race initially started, Michael had still not been located. It was dark and cold, and Peggy got in their car and started honking the horn and yelling out, hoping that if Michael was lost somewhere in the dark, that he could hear the horn and maybe try to make his way back to her. Peggy at this point called the race officials and was like, "Hey, I'm my husband is lost and you guys left. Can you come back and help look for him? You didn't account for everybody and you left." And they were like, "Oh, okay." And they sort of dragged their feet getting back out there to help. So
Which
it,
is like the worst thing you can do in an emergency situation,
especially like this,
where like every second counts.
every second counts. So it wasn't for another 3 hours that they finally got out there around 10:30 p.m.
That's honestly pretty shameful.
It really is. That's a
Uh,
long time. And poor Peggy was there, like,
they're like, I mean, I get that you're like doing this at your own risk, but they're responsible. That's why they
they're
had
responsible.
everybody chipped,
Yeah.
right? Is that part of it's to give people their time. The other part is to keep track of everyone because they know that the race is inherently dangerous.
They should not have gone home for the day until they knew for sure that everybody was a
Yeah.
period.
Yeah. And also, you see a guy who's taking 3 hours to do what took everybody else less than an hour.
Yeah, there's
It's
something
like,
going on.
yeah, stop that guy.
Yeah.
Don't tell him to keep going. Like,
Or even if he at least wait until he reaches the turnaround point, you see him coming down.
yeah,
You could go back down together. I don't know. Even when they did finally arrive to help with the search and rescue, they didn't have any special equipment or anything. They didn't have like infrared or anything like that. And it wasn't until 1 a.m. when a state trooper helicopter finally arrived to help look with the spotlight. The search
classic,
classic, dragging their feet, show up 8 hours later with a notepad.
Thanks for your help, buddy.
The search went on into the early morning hours, and it did eventually escalate into 60 people searching on foot, including the National Guard and search dogs and Michael's family. But unfortunately, it seems that it was too late, and no traces of Michael were ever found. Even after days of searching, no clothes, no footprints,
No skull.
nothing. No, they never found a single trace of him.
Ever?
Ever. So, to me, this reads as maybe he was having a heart attack or something.
Yeah, if he was moving that slow and he seemed like he was in good spirits, I wonder if he was kind of like he knew something was wrong, but maybe in denial about it, or
He was just like determined.
so. Because what we're learning with modern medicine is sometimes people have heart attacks and don't realize it, and if you're out there and there's nobody around to help you, but like it's so obvious to me that if you're taking 3 hours, dude, something's wrong.
An animal attack of some kind is definitely a possibility. And here's something else to note too, is that it had been raining all day. It was very muddy, very slippery, and it was dark at this point when he was going up this mountain. And where the turnaround point was, there were steep cliffs kind of all around. So
Yeah, I'm
if
thinking about what it looks like, and it gives me the creep. Like honestly, this story in particular gives me the heebie.
it's upsetting, I think part of what really gets me with this one is somebody did interact with him and they could have. I'm not saying it's that person's fault,
It's
but
not,
but
yeah,
there was a chance, there was a window there where somebody could have done something.
it definitely feels like something was preventable here. Sure. The other thing is, maybe he legit was in good spirits and was going slow as possible so everybody would leave so that he could disappear into the wilderness and go live a totally different life.
You know, there were people who suggested that, and that is something that happens sometimes.
People do that shit.
People do that.
For real.
We'll probably cover some cases like that on this podcast because there are some
They
really
like go off and
fascinating
live a
things.
whole new life as a different person. Yeah.
But it's unlikely in Michael's case, and there are some reasons for that. One of the reasons is that he had just retired, and he had just purchased like a nice RV, and he was making plans with Peggy to go travel around the country together in their RV, and this was sort of like the kickoff event to all of these exciting things they had planned.
Ugh, it
So
was the
it's
beginning and he fucking disappears.
yeah.
That's so sad.
So it just
Poor
seems
Peggy,
it
man.
just seems unlikely. Yeah. Seems unlikely that that's something that he would have done on purpose. Um
What about my other thought is like taking the dog out.
Taking the dog out? What do you mean?
Take not like that. Take the dog out to like go look for him because the dog knows his smell.
Oh, sure. They did.
Oh, okay.
You know, they also had like professional dogs, but like there was a point where Peggy and the dog and other family members drove down and they were all searching together. You know, it's something to be noted too that like they were in a rural area and Peggy was at this point alone with her dog at night in the Alaskan wilderness,
That's
hoping
scary
her
for
husband.
her, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so, you know, I don't know that she necessarily felt safe to go wandering around by herself with the dog.
No
I wouldn't
way.
have.
Absolutely not.
It's a sad situation. The other thing that I want to mention is with the mud and stuff. It's possible that what happened is he lost his footing, especially if he was moving real slow. If he loses his footing, slides, there are crevices and stuff you could slide into and possibly never be found again.
That's a good point. I actually want to tell a story brief. But like this story, so I'm gonna keep it as short as I possibly can. But like I know from experience that the mud in Alaska can get whack. Like for one thing, it's so cold, right? Very like hypothermia inducing, and I had kind of hinted at this. I lost the use of my legs temporarily because I had gotten stuck in some mud. Getting stuck in the mud sometimes is literally like being stuck in concrete because it's wet and malleable like mud, but it really like glops on and it sort of suctions you in. And it can feel pretty impossible trying to get out of it. That condition would make it really easy for you to slip and fall because when the mud grabs your feet like that and you're not expecting it, you go to pick your leg up and it trips you
It suctions.
and it suctions so powerfully and it can suction your body too if you slap into it.
Absolutely.
So it's possible to drown in mud and nobody know you're even there because the mud congeals and flattens out, right?
Yep. Also, definitely worth noting, just circling back to the animal attacks. Animals are huge in Alaska. It was after dark.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have any closure on Michael's case now, but we it is relatively speaking a newer case. It happened in 2012. It was 21 years between when Gary went missing and
His skull was
evidence
stuck.
of him was found. And it was even longer until that we were able to make any use of that evidence. So there's a chance that someday we'll know what happened to Michael, but as of now, have that. Like so many others.
Maybe one day. I'm going to tell you another story really quick. Ready? One time when I was really little, I got chased by a moose, and it was terrifying, especially because it was an Alaskan bull moose,
An Alaskan bullworm!
and he was huge. Although I don't think he was actually chasing me. I think he was just curious because moose are just naturally very curious. But little me, I was like knee high, running away, screaming and crying, while this moose just sort of slowly sauntered over to me. I did get away. Hello, beautiful. My gorgeous wife. Finally showing up to her own show.
So, just 3 days after Michael's disappearance, 43-year-old Valerie Sifsoff, she's an indigenous woman and an Alaska native, was camping with her boyfriend in Granite Creek, deep in the Kenai Mountains. Valerie and her boyfriend were pretty outdoorsy. It wasn't unusual for them to go camping, especially during summer. So this was a pretty standard, like, weekend trip for them. Now, Valerie and her boyfriend, on their way to their campsite, got in a fight on the car ride. They got there, they were able to, settle their argument long enough to set up camp. And they set up a campfire, they ate dinner, they cracked open a couple of cold ones, and they were having a chill time when an argument erupted again. Valerie got upset enough during this argument that she stormed off from the campsite toward the general direction of where like some of the other campers were and like the bathroom. Her boyfriend later said of the incident that it wasn't unusual. Valerie would sometimes get upset and leave for a while and go like blow off steam.
Sure. I think that's a pretty common mechanism for a lot of people.
Yeah. So she goes in the general direction of like semi civilization, if you will. And her boyfriend doesn't think a whole lot of it. He's, also pissed off. He's sitting there at the campfire for a while. And when she doesn't come back after some time, he decides to go looking for her. He wanders over toward the area of the bathrooms and the other campers and doesn't see her. So he decides to go back toward the campsite for the night. And after like 30 minutes or so of waiting for her there, he dozes off. The next morning, he realizes she never came back. He's concerned, obviously, but he thought maybe she was mad enough that she decided to like hitchhike her way home. So he packed up camp and he decided to head back toward their apartment in Anchorage. She did not leave in the vehicle that she came in because she left her keys and her wallet and her phone and all of her possessions behind, apart from clothes on her back, which was a sweatshirt and a tank top and some pants. Over the course of the next 3 or 4 days, her boyfriend goes back and forth between Granite Creek and their apartment, saying that he's looking for her. He's trying to figure out what happened to her. He thought maybe she got mad enough that she like went to go see friends or something. He wasn't sure what was going on. But over the course of those 4 days, he was looking for her, and he finally decided to report the incident. He and her family started a search party. And together they searched miles and miles of dense forest, along with other officials and volunteers. They couldn't find anything. It wasn't until months later when a kayaker who was in the river there found a green tank top floating on the surface of the water. This kayaker reported this to officials, which, good on them. I don't know that I would have necessarily flagged seeing a tank top floating as being like something that needed to be reported, but
Yeah, this weirds me out because I definitely feel like I've seen.
yeah, like like moving forward in my life, if I ever see anything like that,
Just report it because
I'm-
you never know.
yeah. So officials came and checked it out, and they did confirm that it belonged to Valerie. Sometime later, in October, her family again was scouring the area, and about a half mile away from where she disappeared, they found a piece of black fabric stuck in a log jam, which I had to look this up because I wasn't sure. For those who don't know, a log jam is like, it's basically a dam in a river, but instead of a beaver building it, it's just a natural occurrence. It just builds up over time. So they find this fabric stuck in a log jam and they don't touch it. They're like, nobody touch anything. We're gonna call the cops and have them check it out. So they come out and check it out, and they do verify that it was Valerie's DKNY hoodie that she had been wearing the night that she went missing. This seemed promising, but unfortunately, no other signs of Valerie were ever found. And to this day, we don't know what happened to her. So it begs the question, what did happen to her? For me, I have a couple of hypotheses. Indigenous women have murder as the third leading cause of death. Just for context, for white women, such as myself, it's not even in the top 10. Valerie's dad has gone on the record to say that he believes that she fell into the river as she stormed off and was just swept away. And while there's a chance that he could be right, especially since there was evidence of her clothes and stuff in there, it just doesn't sit right with me, personally.
I'm really weary. You know, I the fact that she and her boyfriend were constantly arguing.
It's not a good sign.
It's not a good sign. I don't want to like place any like blame on him, especially if he didn't do it. Well, then that's really upsetting, you know. But that is often enough. I don't know if it's most often,
It
but
is.
it's pretty damn often that
It's almost always someone you know, and it is even more often than that
someone you're
your
really
intimate
close.
partner. Yeah,
And so
the
it,
statistics are there.
it's really weird. It's so I would want to know more about where stuff was found, how it was found, because it's weird that, I don't know,
Yeah, I would like to know how far apart physically the
the
tank
items
top.
are,
Yeah, where they were.
who found them. We know one is a kayaker, found the sweater.
The family. That's not to say that he wasn't there at all. And like I said, there were 4 days where he was traveling back and forth between these areas, doing who knows.
That's really the biggest thing, is that that's fucking weird,
It's odd.
especially with her not having anything.
I mean, grant like
She just had her clothes.
giving the benefit of the doubt. If you suddenly went missing,
You'd be on it.
well, I'd be on the case.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
true.
I know. I'd be found
That's true.
within the hour.
That's true. But like that being said, especially when the circumstances leading up to it are a fight, it does create some gray area of like, does this person not want to be found?
Sure. Yeah. Do they not want to see me?
Yeah. And so like I guess I can understand for that reason why he would have needed to go to like authorities about it. And also, I'm not really a big proponent of going to the cops, period. I don't trust the police. But I don't think that that was his reason for not calling them. I don't think he was police hesitant. It didn't seem that way based on what I read, but I don't know. That being said, it is Alaska. There is a chance she was attacked by an animal, or maybe she was
It could be
going fast and she slipped into the river.
It literally could be it.
It could be anything. There is a chance that she was human trafficked. That is something that happens. Especially indigenous women. And at a campsite, you are very vulnerable. There could be other wayward people there, some unsavory types there, um, who may have heard her and her boyfriend arguing earlier and targeted her and decided to grab her. It's possible. For me personally, based on the limited information that I was able to find on this, I'm wary. She was heading in the direction of where there were other people and the bathrooms. If she had been attacked by an animal, someone would have. I really think that. Arguing with her boyfriend, how loud were they arguing? People listening? How far were people? What was going on? It's possible that that escalated to a point where something bad happened between them. And
We've seen this happen before a lot.
of course.
Like a lot. And it almost always looks like where they're like arguing nonstop and she disappears and her boyfriend makes the call like hours, days later and is like, I don't know, she just stormed off. I figured she didn't want to talk to me. It's literally the same story every
Same
time.
song and dance. It's highly suspect. And listen, if he didn't do it, fine.
So like, sorry, if you really didn't do it, sorry, but like at the same time, it's almost a cliche. How stereotypical that process is. It's like, why did it take you 4 days?
Have you heard the term like alpine divorce?
No, but I can kind of imagine. That sounds awful.
Yeah, so this is like a thing, like a TikTok trend that was going around for a while of people talking about times in which people have abandoned their partners in the wilderness.
So shitty.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, this could be some variation of that. I don't know. But whatever happened to Valerie happened there within a half mile of that campsite based on the evidence found.
And nobody saw her. Talk to the other campers, anything?
I don't know. I didn't see any of that information online, but I'm guessing because there was so much time in between when she was reported missing and when it actually happened, that most of those campers were gone. Uh, if they went camping on a Thursday or whatever, like by Monday, people would have cleared out. Like most people don't go camping that long. I guess there is the very small chance that she decided to strip off her clothes and leave and start a new life.
You
But
know,
that seems unlikely.
I really hope that. I don't know why it would be, but that'd be the best outcome.
So that is a wrap on the missing persons cases. We're going to move in now to some other strange events that have happened in the Alaska Triangle. We're going to talk about plane disappearance, of which there have been many. On October 16th, 1972, Majority Leader Hale Boggs of Louisiana and Alaskan Rep. Nicholas Bajik and his aide, Russell Brown, were just weeks away from Election Day. They were on campaign tour. They were going around, they were talking to people, they were doing things, they were getting ready for this election. Despite a rough night of weather in Alaskan airspace, the three decided to board a twin-engine Cessna aircraft piloted by a man named Don E. Johns in Anchorage. They were taking this plane from Anchorage to Juneau for another campaign event. And that event was to be held on October 17th. They never arrived. By noon the next day, Democratic whip Thomas Tip O'Neill Jr. of Massachusetts announced publicly that the plane had gone missing. This was noon the next day. I'm just saying, that's a quick announcement. But yeah, I mean, they were missing. So this launched at that point the largest search party in US. There were 40 military aircraft, 50 civilian aircraft, and a search area of 325,000 miles, which is bigger than the entire Alaska Triangle. After 39 days, they decided to call off the search. They did not find anything. There was never a trace of any of the men or the aircraft ever found again.
Not even a piece of the aircraft or nothing.
Nothing.
This feels like a political.
Well, Boggs's empty congressional seat was ultimately filled by his widowed wife,
Yeah.
Lindy Boggs. She did campaign and she had a successful run in a special election and she served for 9 terms.
It's so weird to be like, you know what? We need to search for over a month. Starting noon tomorrow, which you can't even report a person as missing that quickly.
Right. Well, this is an old case, but yeah,
But like still,
generally no.
generally no. It feels very much like to me, just like hearing that off the top of my head sounds like a political stunt. It sounds like they were ready to do all of this.
There are so many conspiracy theories about this event.
Of course there are. It's fucking weird.
Yeah. I really could have gone into a deep rabbit hole here. There is some like deep political stuff.
This should be its own.
It probably could be. A lot of it surrounded Boggs's involvement with the Warren Commission, which investigated the assassination of JFK. Now, the circumstances around that, Boggs originally disagreed with the single bullet theory, is the idea that there was a solo shooter,
Right.
which most of the commission agreed with. And this caused some speculation that the FBI had targeted him and tried to intentionally get rid of him.
Tried.
Well,
Succeeded.
yeah. This isn't really supported, though.
I wouldn't put it past the FBI. Just saying.
Well, the guy who would have had it out for him, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, actually died several months prior to Boggs disappearing. So, while not impossible, it seems a lot less likely.
It goes deeper
Since
than
the
that.
guy with the vendetta was already dead.
It goes so much deeper than.
So that's that plane disappearance. We're gonna move on to one that is almost just as weird. In January of 1950, a U.S. Air Force Douglas C-54 Skymaster was finally cleared for takeoff. They had numerous delays due to engine troubles, and They did eventually get off the ground. They were headed for Great Falls, Montana.
Been there.
Well, Great Falls. They had on board 44 people. 8 of them were crew, 34 were military personnel, and 2 civilians, a woman and her infant child. A few hours into the flight, while flying over the Yukon, the pilot called in to do his routine check-in, as he was expected to do every 30 minutes. Hey, we're good. We're on course. ETA is this. Done. He reported at this check-in that there was a bit of ice that started to accumulate on the wings of the plane, but it wasn't necessarily cause for concern. He just wanted to note. When he didn't call again 30 minutes later, it became pretty clear that something was wrong. The plane was actually never heard from again after that. No distress signal was ever sent, and it seems unlikely that anything short of extremely sudden and catastrophic happened based on the timeline of events. Like, it would have happened all within, at the most, 30 minutes, and probably less than. Even in an emergency situation, in most cases, pilots will be able to send out a distress signal or make a call. I mean, I fell down a rabbit hole for several months where I was watching people talk about and listen to, like, radio recordings from, like, different emergency situations on planes. And in all of those situations, you know, pilots were, like, suffering from hypoxia, or they had engine failures, or there were other things going on. They were all calling in and talking to ground control about it, right? Or to air traffic control. And that did not happen in this case. So a massive search and rescue mission was launched involving 85 aircrafts from both Canada and the US, and about 7,000 military personnel. A search,
So many.
I know, search area larger than the country of Germany was checked out. The continuous harsh weather conditions and rugged terrain made the search challenging and dangerous. The weather that they experienced on the plane that probably contributed to whatever happened to it, that weather did not let up for a long time. And it was so bad that 3 of the search and rescue planes also crashed, which injured dozens of people. Thankfully, nobody died in those subsequent crashes, but still, it gives you an idea of, like, how truly dangerous this weather event and this terrain are. Even after this huge search party, nothing surfaced. They never found any signs of the C-54 or the people on board. There was one guy in early lockdown days of 2020 who snuck over the very restricted at that time Canadian border and claimed to have found the wreckage. Yes, but this is unconfirmed. It seems pretty likely, based on the timing of the last transmission and where they were headed, that the plane actually crashed somewhere over the Gulf of Alaska. And that's probably why it has not been found. They think that it's also possible because of the technology at the time. It was 1950. And also the area in which they were flying, that the captain could have suffered from hypoxia, which could explain why he never called back in. But it's hard to say. I mean, we don't really know, like, what happened. And without finding the wreckage and being able to obtain some of that information,
That'd be really tough to find because that water is just impossible.
it's cold, it's
Real harsh.
yeah, it's harsh. So there are many, many other instances very similar to these plane crashes that have happened time and time again. All right, Fort Lock, Alaska. It's a very remote coastal settlement on the southern tip of the Kenai.
Okay.
In 1786, a British captain named Nathaniel Portlock came across the spot while exploring the Alaskan coastline.
Portlock, you say?
Yeah. And he immediately noticed the incredible beauty of the area. It very calm waters. It allowed for excellent salmon fishing. And he wondered, why hasn't anybody settled this area? There are indigenous settlements that way down the coast and the other way down the coast, but nobody here. I wonder why.
Especially when it's so beautiful and perfect.
And despite him being like, that's a little suspect, he decided to settle the area anyway, as white men typically do. So a small fishing village was settled there, and things were mostly fine for quite some time. By 1900, an American company founded a small cannery in the village, and operations ran smoothly enough for the first 5 years. And then we have evidence of a mysterious that occurred. The only evidence we have of this is a very quickly scrawled logbook note by the cannery supervisor. And the note simply said that all of the employees, quote, fled in fear and refused to return due to a threat that came from the woods.
Care to elaborate on that?
He
It's
was like,
a threat that came from the woods. They didn't even know what it was.
a threat from the woods. How ominous is that to be the person who like finds that? What was it?
Vampires.
Huh?
Vampires.
I think it was vampires.
Probably not.
It was Edward and Co.
No, it was definitely not Edward and Co.
It could be.
Knockoff vampires. Emu vampires.
So employees did eventually return the next fishing season. And it seemed like all was well for quite some time. In fact, it wasn't until 1921 that we had something else happen.
Yeah.
A logger named Andrew Camlock was working with handheld tools. That checks out for a guy named Camlock.
Sure.
There was heavy machinery around him, but he wasn't using any of it. He was doing a manual task. This was his work routine for some time. When he didn't return home one night to like the loggers area, another logger was sent to investigate. And the guy who came to investigate found something. He found Andrew's body laid in front of the bench where he usually took his breaks, with a huge gash at the back of his head. The nearby heavy machinery was covered in blood, which did seem a little odd because it was too heavy to be lifted, and it seemed otherwise undisturbed, like it hadn't been turned on. The inspecting logger reported feeling as if someone was watching him waiting. He ran back to tell his boss, and as he was running, he said that he thought he saw a grizzly bear running next to him.
Werebears.
But other encounters with this strange creature kept happening. And people started to think that it was too large, too smart, and too sneaky to be a bear. You know how things snowball.
Yeah.
People are, tall tales, etc.
They're always saying stuff.
But people continued to be attacked violently over the next decade. And it seemed more and more probable to the locals that something was going on here.
So, like that first part of the story that you told me, where they all just ditched and left that hastily written note, that just tells me that was an elaborate ruse for everybody to get time off work. Right?
Can you imagine?
I don't know. What should we say it was? Terrifying thing. I don't know. It came from the woods. Whatever. Anyway, we're all scared.
I'm
blah,
too
blah, blah.
drunk to think of anything.
Yeah,
Just
go-
put something down.
Let's go be with our families. But then it's like, with the bloody machinery. Then with the bloody machinery, that tells me something fucking smacked him into that machine. Right?
It's possible, yeah.
Well, if it hadn't been
The
ran,
back of his head, yeah.
because the other option is he was walking by it as it was running. But it seems like it hadn't been ran, and he got hit in the back of the head. Obviously, the machine is too big to move. Maybe it's not too big to move, but it didn't seem to be the case that it had been. So, it seems to me like he got whacked into that thing. It could have been a bear, although usually bears will paw your head. But like a bear can also like like push you. And
It would be weird though for a bear to like just push and then leave.
not necessarily. Bears are very territorial, right? And they can like stand there and kill you, but they don't have to. You know? The point is to make sure you're not a threat. I'm sure that once that guy got conked out, the bear assessed that he was no longer a threat, it might go away. And then this other guy says, this guy's that the dude's laying in his normal relaxing spot, which tells me this guy must have got up and went, "Hey, I need to go sit down for a second because my head feels weird."
Yeah.
And then you have like supposedly this guy says, "I thought a bear was running beside me." Totally could be that bear chasing him out of the territory.
It's possible. It's definitely possible that it was a bear.
It explains a lot
Yeah.
about why the area is so nice, but people don't hang out.
I almost think it's even possible that guy just like maybe got startled by something.
Sure.
Like maybe the bear
Tripped.
didn't even attack him,
Yeah.
but he like saw something and he like double stepped back, conked his head, and then whatever it was fled the scene, and he was all and then like you said went to go like sit down, and then
Could be.
passed out.
Anyway, okay, what else we got?
So people continue to be attacked violently over the next decade. They were contorted and mangled, but never eaten.
See, that's the thing. A bear will contort and mangle, but usually it eats at least something.
Right.
Unless, again, they're very territorial. Maybe it's not hungry, but it is territorial.
Well, at one point, an entire hunting party went missing, and later turned up shortly downriver in the water, torn to pieces. Someone reported finding giant human footprints. This is where things
A bear with human feet?
start to go downhill. The locals were terrified, obviously. Late one night, a man was down near the water when he reported seeing a tall, bipedal, hairy creature facing the water. The man turned around, ran home, grabbed his gun, and when he came back, the creature was still standing there. He decided not to shoot the creature, but he later recounts that it wasn't really a decision. He felt compelled not to, almost as if the creature was disallowing it. The man relayed this story in a bar one night, and it caught the attention of a young indigenous woman who was terrified by this. She told him that he may have encountered the Nantinak, which is a Bigfoot-like creature that her Aleutic father had told her about. And basically, it's a really scary Bigfoot.
Yeah, he's got like I don't know, some kind of psychokinetic powers over other people's mental state.
In 1949, the town was all but abandoned pretty much overnight. Some say that this is due to economic collapse due to industry changes, and that people were moving on to better opportunities where there were more people around, because this was a very small community. But others believe that they were just terrified and that people finally left because they were fed up with it.
The fact that a whole hunting party went died.
That's concerning.
Yeah.
It remains a ghost town to this day.
Whatever it is, this guy's a dick.
Yeah, whatever's causing that.
He's a jerk, man.
So that brings us to 2014.
Oh wait, hold on. Cue John Marston.
You eat babies.
We eat berries and mushrooms, you fool!
You eat babies.
In 2014, a girl named Sarah and her friend Ray and Ray's brother were at Lake Iliamna. It's close by. It's like 100 miles away. So they were at this lake, and as they were getting ready to have a leisurely lake day, they were getting their boat loaded up, they were ready to go. Sarah saw on the coastline a strange, tall, hairy figure. And it was just staring at them, watching them on the boat. Her friends, without her saying anything, also turned to look. And they kind of exchanged glances with each other like, are you seeing this? And then the creature vanished, right in front of their eyes.
I've heard that about Bigfoot. There's like other stories about Bigfoots that You like even
Vanish.
looking at them, if they feel threatened, they'll just poof.
So they get off the boat and they start tracking the footprints through the woods.
Yeah.
This was enough to scare them off.
Sure.
They got like a little bit into the woods and they kept seeing these giant footprints and they were like, whatever this is, we don't want it.
What about you?
What about me?
Yeah, what would you do in that situation?
I wouldn't have gone in the first place.
I'd be like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize anybody lived here. I'll show myself out.
If I were feeling particularly brave that day, may have shouted, "I'm sorry, we're gonna leave," and left it at that. Now, I would not have gone into the woods searching for it.
I'd try to give it my business card. You never know.
Never know.
Maybe he's pursuing education.
This is just one of many instances from this area that involve different, like, shape-shifting creatures.
Also, be careful with this kind of stuff too, because there are certain similar cryptids. I'm thinking of one shapeshifter in particular.
Yeah.
There are others like it where, it's sort of culturally insensitive to talk about them because those cultures, it's their practice actively not to talk about.
Yeah.
So, obviously you want to learn stuff. People are curious and we want to know things, but it's also important to just be respectful of other people's cultures,
For sure.
Yeah, just saying.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about some theories about what is actually going on in this area.
Definitely Bigfoot. Like psychic Bigfoot.
I
for
mean,
sure.
the Alaska Triangle at large.
Oh, the psychic Bigfoot is to blame for all of it. Truly.
Just one guy. He's sending out really bad vibes.
Well, the big feet are because he moves so fast, but only the feet.
He's just like a regular sized dude, but with feet the size of Saturn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate that. That's really scary.
He could make some really niche fetish material.
Goodness. Yeah. Remember the big knees guy?
Ew, I literally never bring that up again. I don't know what that guy was thinking, but he should be in jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah, I haven't heard of the big knees guy, and you are curious. Just type that in.
It's
Whatever search engine you use, and you'll
okay.
see something.
Full disclosure, that's fetish content.
Yes, it is.
But it's not necessarily sexual, but it's weird.
I think an average person seeing it without context would think that it's odd, but would not read it as being sexual in nature. All right. So, what is happening in the Alaska Triangle? Some possible explanations. The most obvious and least exciting is that Alaska is just very dangerous.
Least exciting, as though like the adventure you find in Alaska isn't like you died there. It's the least exciting
That's not
thing
what
of
I
your
mean.
life.
What I mean is like just that there are you'll understand in a second. So this would be things like the weather, which
It's the
can be
most
extreme there.
expected.
Yeah. It's a place of extremes.
Yep.
Right? You have periods of the year where it's daylight for 22 hours a day. You have periods of the year where it's nighttime for 20 hours a day. It's just
And for months. And then also it's a desert, a lot of it.
it can be very very hot at times. It can be very cold. There are giant animals as we've explained.
And they're territorial.
It's
Moose are territorial. Bears are territorial.
there are barely any roads. Most of the transportation is done via like helicopter and plane.
Also,
It's very remote.
I talked about this the first time we recorded, but I didn't get a chance to mention it this time. I'll mention it really quick here. Something that happens oftentimes when you're trekking in the snow, especially like in places like Montana, Alaska, anywhere in those regions, there's this thing that can happen where trees fall, right? And like they might make a natural like blockade of some kind or whatever,
Yeah.
but they can fall and then seasons of snowfall happen. And the thing is that snow doesn't get trekked on by anybody. No animals, no people, nothing, right? Because a lot of Alaska is unbearable to live in for animals too. And so this thing can happen where you go out exploring land that probably no person has seen, maybe in thousands of years, if ever. And you're walking and suddenly you slip into the snow because it's kind of fluffy and suddenly there's nothing beneath you. And the reason why is because as the trees are falling, they kind of make like a scaffolding. but you don't know what's in there because it just looks like flat ground. And a lot of these trees have broken branches that have been preserved for a long time, and that's, people get impaled when they fall in there.
Yeah, really. Yeah, all kinds of
Really,
stuff.
really good way to go missing in Alaska. Just saying.
All kinds of things can happen. And with a place as big and as remote as Alaska, that's what makes the most sense, right? That's what's happening to a lot of these people. Sure.
Probably most of them.
Also worth noting that human trafficking is a very real thing. And in a place like
Yeah.
Alaska, it's no exception. I think it could very easily be a combination of nature and human-made circumstances.
I will say your chances of being murdered by psychic Bigfoot are low, but not zero.
True. And it's a lot more likely if you're in Portlock. So there's also some other potential hypotheses about what could be causing such a big, I guess, a large amount of strange things to happen in this area. Space-time continuum stuff is a factor, possibly.
Okay.
There are people who say that the Bermuda Triangle has some weird, like, time folding things going on. There's actually a case, at least one case specifically that I can think of, in which a plane flew through the Bermuda Triangle and was, like, came back out the other side of it, and they had seemingly lost, like, 2 or 3 minutes, which seems inconsequential, but
Pretty big on a planet scale.
yeah,
Like in the scale of the universe, if you don't know anything about like physics, just a quick breakdown: space, time, and mass, they're all like kind of interconnected. And when you warp one, you warp the other two, right? And we see this on a grand scale with the universe around us that's observable. We see it on the earth too. It's such a small effect on the earth. So to think like a change of 2 or 3 minutes, that's actually pretty massive
it is.
for something happening on this planet.
It is. Give me
All
2
right, I'm going
seconds.
to tell you another quick story of me sledding in Alaska when I was a little kid. So one time, me and all the neighbor kids, we built like a ramp out of snow, and we packed it really tight, and we poured water on it to get it to harden, and we put it like so that it would go launch us out over the road, the road. There was like one main road in the neighborhood, and I was the first kid brave enough to like go off it because I was just kind of that kid. I went as fast as I could. I wanted to see how high I could go. I literally like 7 years old, 6 years old, and I launch across the street, totally over the street, which was unexpected. I thought I'd be like landing in the street, and I landed in a puddle, and I lost my sled, and I stuck the landing, boop, right on my feet, like that, into one of those muddy spots that I was talking about earlier. And the mud really does suction you. It is so difficult to get out of, and it's freezing cold mud. So there I am, and the kids are telling me to come back. My brother's screaming at me. I have a twin brother. He's screaming at me to come back, and I'm like, I literally can't. I can't get my feet out of the mud because I'm sunk down, probably like to my half of my shin, right? And I cannot get my boots out. I'm grabbing it with my hand and trying to pull, and I'm getting more stuck as I'm trying to pull. And eventually, I get myself free. I get myself free first, and then I have to rip my boots out of the mud. But by the time I got out of the mud, my legs stopped working because of how cold they had gotten. And so I was like temporarily paralyzed in my legs. I couldn't move my feet or feel them at all. But my twin brother ended up having to put me in my sled, and he grabbed it by the rope on the front because it had like a little rope handle, and he pulled me all the way back to our house. And it was probably about 15 minutes to get me all the way there, and it wasn't until we got to my house that my legs started to get feeling again. I remember that was just horribly painful, getting back indoors. If you've ever been close to frostbite, like that's pretty much as close as you can get to frostbite without getting it. And it is extraordinarily painful when you do get back to warming your body up.
It is. In Colorado, I've had a few similar instances, none so harrowing as that, but it's very easy to push your body beyond its limits and not realize it, especially with like hypothermia. It's like, wow, I'm really cold. But then as the feeling starts to come back and the pain sets in, you're like, oh, no, I was really cold. Like that was
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
it's wild. It's wild how quickly that can set in. All right. Let's jump back into this.
Makes me think of that guy from Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know. It's one of those movies where his feet are frozen. He picks his toe off.
Ew. I don't remember that. Gross.
Ugh.
All right. So, yeah, the Bermuda Triangle has some like weird time folding stuff, and that plane incident I told you about, there I forget exactly how they were able to confirm it. I think it was with like black box data. They essentially confirmed that that really did happen. They really did somehow lose some time. So, the 12 vial vortices hypothesis.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So, this was proposed by a zoologist and cryptozoologist, Ivan T. Sanderson, in 1972. The 12 vital vortices are 12 equidistant geographic anomalies scattered across the planet where inexplicable phenomena is often reported. These things include shipwrecks, disappearances, tech failure, and other mysterious and paranormal incidents. Sanderson suggested that these points form an isosahedron, which is a 20-sided geometric shape, a D20, if you will, when mapped across the Tropic of Cancer, the Tropic of Capricorn, and the North and South Poles.
There are other maps too. This one has been is a little bit outdated. There are more modern versions of this that show that they're not necessarily like a perfect isosahedron, and in fact, some places are not points so much as they are like cracks.
Sanderson proposed that these are naturally occurring energy pockets in the Earth's magnetic field. Some believe that these pockets are places where things blip in and out of existence. Some people even think that you can change timelines here or otherwise blur the lines of reality. There are some deep rabbit holes of conspiracy theories, but I think that's probably enough for this episode.
So this is a place in Anchorage, Alaska called Salties on Second. They're not overall rated very poorly. It's 4 stars. But here's some of the 1-star reviews. Lynn Spain, about a year ago, said, "So the food was not bad, but the service was terrible. Horrible. We had 6 people in our group. Our waitress brought out 5 of our meals and never came back. We had to ask the bartender about the rest of our food. She went to check and brought it out and said she guessed the server forgot. Really? Everyone was finished by then. I don't know if she was having a bad day or what. But this is the worst service we had in all our Alaskan travels. She never smelled once."
Never smelled?
She smiled, obviously. We will never go back. And then they put pictures of the food, and the food honestly looks pretty.
What if they didn't mean smiled and they did mean smelled?
She never once smelled like anything. Another one, Ashley Noisky, about 3 weeks ago. 1 star. Appetizers came with the food, waited 48 minutes, and it was dead to only get part of the food. Waited 30 minutes to get 2 beers. They were out of the main menu items. Burgers. No sense of urgency or care for customer service. Didn't even get checked on once our food came. Then had to hunt down the server for our check. Livid is not even the start. No wonder this place was dead. Don't waste your time. Even if this place was on a TV show, it's just not that hard, people. Was it on
Was
a
it on a
TV show?
TV show?
We'll have to look that up. Another one. Tyreek Dingleberry.
Dingleberry.
2 months ago, 1 star. My group of 5 showed up to grab dinner and sat in the lobby for 15 minutes without even being greeted. We finally were sat, but over by the bar, which was so ungodly loud we couldn't even converse with each other. Our waitress left us for after 20 minutes without asking for a drink or order or anything. Comes back and finally asked what we wanted for drinks, but by that time we already were ready to order our food. Another 20 minutes pass, and no checking in from the waitress. No, do we need refills on drinks, or sorry for the holdup for your orders, they'll be out soon. Just nothing. We get 1 appetizer, and then it's back to more waiting. An emergency came up, so we went to pay for the dip. seeing as though we weren't even in the mood to eat the food we'd ordered with how bad the service had been. But of course, the waitress was nowhere to be found, paid for the drinks and appetizer, and left hungry and disappointed. Guy Fieri never should have come here.
Wow. Okay, so it must have been on diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Yep.
Interesting. All right.
Just really quickly, I only read like the first couple that were there, but there are a bunch of these and they all say the same thing except for one here, Jordan Thedford, 1 star a year ago. The picture of the awesome skillet is from Fender's, not too far down the road. And then he goes on with a long review. But I always think it's funny when somebody's like starts off their review with here's something from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Seward Brewing Company. 2 stars 2 weeks ago by Givy Kochanowski. Tried it again today after a couple of years. That's a whole story right there.
Yeah.
It's it's beer, but nothing to write home about. The flights are pricey for small pours. I may be a bit old-fashioned, but I got to breweries to enjoy beers. Not to be hit with political ideologies and agendas that have nothing to do with beer culture and the enjoyment of good beers. So yeah, so the owner responded 2 weeks ago, pretty much immediately. And we came here to enjoy the legitimate 2-star reviews about our beer, not to be hit with political, incoherent, ideological agenda rants from a beer drinker, in quotes, who sips on tiny beers. And you didn't write home about it. You wrote it here. Well, sort of wrote it in an old-fashioned, bigoted, illiterate way. But we won't tell anyone that this is really a review of a simple rainbow flag and not about a beer. Kissy winky face. Yeah, so we know what kind of person Gibby is.
Yeah.
You know what, Gibby? Get over yourself and quit being a bigot. Literally, though. Change your life, man.
Yeah, grow up.
All right, so here's for Tasty Freeze in Anchorage. FreezerBurn04 says, 1 star. Stopped having butterscotch dip for cones? Personal boycott. Crying shame on that. Frowny
Crying
face.
shame on that.
Food is good, but swapping peanut butter for butterscotch is crap. Change it back, please. Frowny face again. John.
That's
All right, John.
fair.
That's fair. Butterscotch and peanut butter are not anywhere near the same thing, but peanuts are delicious if you can have them.
I like butterscotch and peanut butter, but they're not the same thing. But also, crying shame on that.
Crying shame on that. Here's H2 Oasis Indoor Water Park. Matthew Ramsey gives it 1 star. Went here for a birthday party, and it's definitely not worth the money. In the 20 minutes we were in the party room, the kids were getting so hot because there was no ventilation. Lived here for 3 years, had never seen a cockroach. Until today, did not even think they lived in Alaska. I also never saw a cockroach the entire time I lived. But had to kill one in the party room. 2 out of the 3 water slides were broken off. 2 of the 3 water slides were broken off? Jeez.
Yeah.
Price is $24.99 for adults with nothing to do, for there looked to be a hot tub that was not working. There was what looked like a wave pool with no waves. Walked up to one of the water slides with my son and had to call our doctor to make sure our tetanus shots were up to date.
I can't remember if I included pictures for that, but I will for people who are watching, not listening, because boy, oh boy, they were not exaggerating. It's very bad.
Here's another review, I think, for the same place. Lori Merdes gives it 1 star and says, and I love when people start the review like this, I would give it 0 stars if it were an option. Beware, this place is poorly maintained and absolutely filthy. The cabanas are squalid structures which probably once resembled the online photos. There are no towels. The refrigerators are dirty and rusted.
Ugh.
When we asked for towels, the front desk responded, "We don't have any towels," and then offered a $25 credit after I pointed out we had paid for towels. The misleading website photos show a lovely, clean-stocked cabana area and states cabana rental $99.99 for the entire day. That's under $100, not $1,000. Includes refrigerator, bottled water, use of towels.
Right there in the fine print.
Definitely not a place to relax comfortably for an extended period. We moved to a central table, which seemed less dirty, but left within less than 2 hours. And after seeing a couple roaches, we won't be returning and advise others to avoid. If you do brave a visit, do not waste your money on a cabana. Listed as temporarily closed. So hopefully that means they're remodeling.
It is. God, I hope that they are remodeling because that place, the pictures, woof. Like it was bad.
Yeah. What's funny is those reviews are both 11 years old.
Yeah, and it has not gotten better.
So it has been bad for a long time.
Yep.
Any more?
Yeah, go ahead and read one more.
All right, let's do a review for Fred Meyer and Juno.
Do it.
Sarah Schneider gives it 1 star. I called because I wanted to speak to customer support about a concern that I had, and they hung up on me the first time, and then the second time they said, "Oh, your name is Tyler now?" and then connected me to the police, where I got for my first and last name for no reason. Horrible store, do not call these people.
What was her name? Sarah?
Sarah, sorry you're not Tyler. I don't know what she's trying to
I
tell
think
me.
I think what probably happened is she called to be rude about something, and
Yeah.
they didn't answer, or she didn't like their answer, so she took her boyfriend's phone or something and called from his phone, and their caller ID said that it was Tyler.
Yeah.
I bet something like that happened.
All right, I got one more. You know, and this is 9 months ago, so this is much more recent, I guess. You know, dudes and dudettes, after getting a few messages from some of my friends in Juneau, Alaska, and they say that Fred Myers has the worst customer service, and especially on this Mike dude. He is not taking his job serious, and managers needs to take their job serious, deal with any situation. There's no punctuation, by the way.
None.
Situations, and my friend made a complaint about these men on the stalls
My friend made a
for
complaint.
almost more than 15 minutes, which Mike should have went in there, tell one of those men to let other men use the stall if they are in there more than a 15 wait, which shouldn't take that long. And this Mike kicked my friend out for talking back at him. Some manager they have at Juneau Fred Myers. This Mike should get fired or demoted for doing that to my friend. He is a good that Mike shouldn't talk like that to anyone at all, and that is how to make enemies or enemy out of anyone. And all I'm giving this place a 1 star for their weak customer service and weak managers service, and that is all I have to say. What my friends think of this place, but don't you think so, dudes and dudettes? Period, exclamation point, question mark, upside down, exclamation point, upside down, question mark, spade emoji, heart emoji, club emoji, diamond emoji, euro emoji, pound as in the British pound emoji,
Mhm.
won emoji, yen emoji, star emoji, frowny face emoji, red faced frowny face emoji, super red faced expletive frowny face emoji.
Dudes and dudettes.
I don't know. I actually have no idea.
I have
what
no
that
idea.
was.
Literally, it was so incoherent that I don't even know what the
I
argument was.
blacked out halfway through. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was a fever dream. Also, I realized I was talking way loud in this mic. I hit the red bar, so I'm sorry about that. That's gonna be your problem later.
That's gonna be my problem tonight because this has to get edited in the next 24 hours.
Oh God. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and ladies and gentle thems.
Dudes and dudettes, and duets. That's the gender neutral version that I've come up with by accident. All right, I am very hot and sweaty.
86 degrees indoors. By the way, it's nighttime out. It is very dark. What is it? It's what time is it?
8:52 p.m.
It is 8:52 p.m. 97 degrees.
Yep. Thanks for listening if you've listened this far. If you enjoy us enough to have listened this much, then I sure hope that you are subscribed. Please also feel free to leave us a comment. Jump over to Instagram. Every week I post like accompanying pictures. So I put a lot of pictures on the screen for those who like watch on YouTube. But For those who don't, if you're audio only, know that I post important pictures on Instagram on Wednesdays as the episode goes up. Sorry, I'm like yawning. I post important pictures on Wednesdays as the episode goes up. So know that you can check there. We are at Here's Where Things Get Weird on every platform. You can find us everywhere.
Be sure to check us out next week when Harm talks about.
Well, we're probably going to re-record another episode with botched audio. So that means we will be talking about... okay, the next episode's actually very fun. It's Criminals or Cryptids. It's a little game that I made up. And I think it'll be a good time. Send help, send thoughts and prayers that we make it through this heat wave because it has been a struggle.
It's too much.
If
Somebody
you
send Psychic Bigfoot to help us.
no.
Save us, Psychic.
Maybe Psychic Bigfoot is the one causing it.
No way. He's too hairy. That's
Yeah.
why he lives in Alaska. He gets it cold. That's what he's mad about. Global warming caused by humans.
That's fair.
He's doing his part.
I think that's it for now.
We need like a proper outro. But until next time, love you. Bye.
Until next time. Catch you on the flippity flip.
Bye.
What have you seen?